This is Beth Hovis, your sweet urban living lady and your Roots to Results coach. If you are a natural wellness practitioner, a holistic wellness practitioner, welcome. If you are in any other kind of business and you're just kind of coming in listening to see what's going on and what little tips I might have to share, welcome to you too. I just want to say thank y'all so much for joining me today, and I realize that I may need to share a little bit about myself to some of you on YouTube, because I'm going live today and on YouTube, and I typically go live in Facebook in my own private Facebook group, which is the Holistic Wellness Practitioners Coaching and Education. And one of the things that we found is that our videos kept being taken down and the resources that we had were, no longer available to our members. So I was like, plus I had all kinds of issues with the chat. So I just welcome you here. If you're seeing in, I see Coffee the 8th is saying, looks and sounds good. Thank you so much. As you're joining me today, would you please just say, hey, I'd love to hear from everybody who's joining in. Tell me where you're joining from and what type of practice you have or what kind of business you have, because I love hearing and seeing, who's there. So I see Jammin' Forever. Thanks for joining me today. And if you're coming from the Facebook group, my Facebook group, I have several loyal followers. There's one of them, Rebecca, who comes and joins me every Friday or almost every Friday when you can. So as you're coming in, just say hi, tell me where you're joining from, tell me the kind of practice you have. And what we want to talk about today is how to create a signature experience in your business. So if you are new to this, I have been meeting every Friday with my Facebook group, just sharing business tips, how to grow a business, how to start a business, how to run systems, how to do block scheduling, how we think about ourselves as business owners. And it's really pretty interesting because there are, hey, busy with dogs. That's my daughter, Jenna. That's why she says, hi, Mom. It's really kind of interesting, all of the things that we've already covered. And we do this, I just want to welcome you. Join me every Friday or almost every Friday. We do take breaks every once in a while. And we learn about running a business. And one of the things that's really interesting, hey, SSA from, that looks like Michigan. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. One of the things that we have found is that wellness practitioners, like all business owners, have certain issues with starting a business, growing a business, finding clients, keeping clients, and things like that. And so what I would like to do is welcome you here and just say, let's get down to the nitty-gritty about creating a signature experience. And what does a signature experience really mean? Because a lot of times, and you can tell me this yourself, clients or customers, when they go into a restaurant or a hotel, or they go visit their wellness practitioner, their holistic health provider, their medical provider, whatever it is they do, we go in and we expect an experience. And, I can remember when my kids were little going to the medical doctor, and I told my husband one time, every time I go, I come home with a headache. Hey, Rose, I am so glad to see you today. All right, so SSA says this is Shane. Okay, cool. So I probably shouldn't have said that out loud. Sorry about that. But anyway, so when I would go, I, needed to go. It was a thing that you did, but I would come home with a headache. Why did I come home with a headache? It was so stressful. Oh, it was Shannon. Okay, gotcha. Shannon. All right. So, hey, Shannon, I'm glad you're here with me today, too. So I would go in and, it just the time spent in the waiting room, the stress of, having to sit there with kids, and then even when you go back, you have to sit there some more. That was one of those things it just did me in for the day. And of course, when we are working with our clients as natural wellness practitioners, we want our clients to have a good experience so they'll come back, right? Think about this. When you go to a restaurant, and I shared this last week because we kind of touched on this last week. We were talking about the signature experience a little bit last week. It's like, I love going to an Italian restaurant when my husband and I go out for our anniversary, which we just had at the beginning of September. And I once a year order tiramisu. I love tiramisu. I don't order it on a regular basis, but I love it. So I indulge at our anniversary. And there's this one particular restaurant, when they bring out the cutlery, it's so thin. It's so thin, and I'm sitting there going, I don't like this. It detracts from the experience. The tiramisu is delicious. The Italian dinner is wonderful. The service is great. But what I remember is the thin silverware. And you don't want your clients remembering, oh, I had to sit so long to wait to be seen. Oh, the tiramisu was delicious, but man, that fork was just so thin, it almost cut my fingers, and it didn't really almost cut my fingers, but that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about. That's the kind of experience. How many of you, and we talked about this, so if you were there, if you were with me in the Facebook Live last week, I asked you, what are 3 words that your clients or friends, if you're getting started in the business, say about you that can help you build a signature business? Some people said researcher, someone said trustworthy, some people, said other things like that. And that's a good place to start. So what we want to do is we want to create an experience that draws clients in. And you're maybe thinking, well, why is that even important? People come to me, because they have a specific health issue and they want to get over that health issue. So why am I creating a signature experience? Why am I worried about whether or not the fork is thin, in this analogy? It does make a difference, because clients don't just remember the things, they don't just remember, oh, this is what we talked about. They remember whether or not they feel better, whether or not they got the help they want, whether or not they feel heard. Remember, we always talk about letting our clients tell their story, get down, share what's on their minds, in their hearts, or whatever it is, so that they feel heard, because so many times those who are seeking a natural wellness practitioner have not been heard. They've got symptoms, they've got issues. They come in and they try to explain something to someone, and they just don't feel heard at all, because it's like their problem just keeps persisting. They keep dealing and struggling with the same health issues over and over again. That's right. We want no thin forks in our business. So Rebecca says some of the things that have been said about her is that she's compassionate. She is holistic, she's life-giving and empowering. Those are really good. And that's the kind of thing that we want our clients to feel about us, that when they come in, that they can trust us. When they come in, that we are looking at them holistically as a whole person. When they come in, we've got answers, we've got things that can change their lives and empower them. So that's what we're talking about. And I don't know about you, but it just seems like if we did the same thing as everybody else, and we can take some ideas from other people. You know what I'm saying? You can take ideas and go, hey, this is a good idea. I saw that this person, and I actually got, there's a book, I'm trying to remember the name of it, but I think it's Uncommon Hospitality. Now, I haven't actually read this book. I saw the author of the book on a coaching call with one of the coaches that I follow. And it's uncommon hospitality, and he tells the story about how he does all these things and he gives this unique experience, and he's in the restaurant business. And when he was telling the story, I was thinking about that fork and eating my tiramisu with that fork. And I'm like, so we don't want to give our clients that experience where all they can think about is, oh yeah, that fork. We want them to have an experience where they are coming in, they're comfortable, they're feeling heard, and they feel like you're trustworthy. And so when I say you can get ideas from other people, well, I'm not in the restaurant business, so I don't have to worry about forks. I saw where Jenna said something about no forks, no thin forks, right? So let's get a little bit deeper into some things that you can do to create an experience. So we've kind of talked about what not to do. Let's talk about some things that you can do that you can create experiences, whether you're doing a virtual practice, whether you have a home office, whether you have a retail business or a spa-like business or a consultation, whatever it is that you're doing, how can you create an experience and in your practice where your clients are going, I really need to go back to that person. Not only do I need to go back to that person, but I need to tell everybody else about them. So one of the things that was very unique to my business is not only do I practice iridology, but I also would create a tincture, not just Bach flowers. So if you are familiar with Judy Masters and doing Bach flower remedies and things like that, you are very familiar with getting a Bach bottle where it helps you just feel better so that your emotions are in balance and your body can then start to heal. And so I would, not only did I do Bach flowers, but I did other things. It might be like have some homeopathic frequencies in it, or it might have other things that would support the body in it. And I tell you, that was one of those things where because it was unique, it was a bottle that was created just for them, and it was a gift. It was, part of my service was to just gift them this as part of the experience of coming in to see me. Plus, one of the things that I would do is with iridology is I loved affirming who they are as a person, because if you know anything about me and I teach iridology, you know that I love not only the physical aspect of seeing what the eyes and the irises reveal about our health potential, but what they reveal about who we are as a person, how we think, behave, and the emotions that we can have. And to be able to honor someone and go, oh, wow, I can tell by your eyes, by your irises, that you probably love good music and you're very creative and you're very family oriented, or you're such a logical thinker, or whatever it is. It makes a difference in the client feeling like they're being seen. So I want to see Jenna says, and that's Busy with Dogs, says digital intake forms that can be filled out the day before makes me happy as a client. Now let's talk about that, because that's actually a very practical idea. So I'm sitting here talking about, gifting them with a tincture bottle that's just for them, supporting them emotionally and logically. If they're a logical thinker, then you want to be recognized as a logical thinker. But one of the things that Jenna says is having forms to fill out the day before makes her happy, or 2 or 3 days before. Having that digital, fill it out online, or some people still have it where you can print it out and write. But boy, having it where you can have your intake form online is amazing. And I actually have a software program, an app, not a software I don't know what to call it. It's an app. I pay for it. That lets me do what they call surveys, which is just an area in my CRM that lets me have a questionnaire where I can, if my clients want to book an appointment, they're new, they can go fill out the questionnaire and they can do it online. that really, really makes a difference, because for me, it also makes a difference, because think about it this way. Before we had all these wonderful things online, clients would come in, you'd hand them a clipboard and a pen, and they'd have to go sit down and fill out the form. Certainly, I could email them the form and ask them to fill it out beforehand, but so many times the client would either come in going, oh, I forgot to print it out. Oh, I forgot it at home. Oh, I didn't even see your email, whatever it was. And they still had to fill out the form. So having that, it's really helpful. And it's helpful for them. That means that when the time of their appointment happens, they are going to see you. And that's where, when I think back to when I would go to the pediatrician's office and I'd have all three of my kids with me, and we would sit there, the appointment's at 1 p.m. and it takes until 2:30 or 3 before we are actually called back. And then we still have to sit there. That was not a good experience. That was very stressful for me. So having where your clients are coming in, okay, and it depends, because it can be something like, well, if you're doing virtual, then, hopefully you have a nice background, hopefully when you greet them, you're there right on time and that kind of thing. So that's just one of the things. So I like what Jenna had to say about the digital forms online. That's a great thing. Creating an experience doesn't mean that you're having to add a lot of extra stuff. Think of a massage therapist who, once the massage is done, I've had some who would hand me some water, tell me to go sit down and drink the water and hydrate before I left, go get comfy somewhere. And that experience makes you feel, just honored and, just like, hey, they're taking care of my health. So that's just something you can think about too. So when you think, now I would love some feedback on this. When you think about your business, and you think about other businesses and you go, I love going back to that kind of experience, and I keep bringing up restaurants or massage therapy or things like that, even hotels. There are certain things like, you want to go back. My husband and I have been on a few cruises, and there was one particular cruise that we went on that our dinner steward who stewarded our table was so good. And all of them are good. I'm not saying that, they're not all good, but this particular one, he stood out head and shoulders above the rest. He was just, and so the next time we took a cruise, I was sitting here going, I'd really like for that guy to be back on my cruise, because he created something in that experience, recognizing us, knowing our name, knowing whether or not we ate bread or didn't eat bread, that kind of thing, knowing ahead of time the things that we appreciated made our experience even better. So thank you, Jenna. She says going to Target and getting a Starbucks is a good and simple experience. That's something that we used to love to do. We would do that many years ago. That was one of the things that Jenna and I used to do, and then Jenna started doing with her daughter, and that was one of those. I really want to do it, and sometimes it's a treat, and you just go and do it. So think about now, as you're thinking about that, going, this is the kind of experience I love. Now think about your business, and tell me about the kind of business that you want to be like that. What can you do in your business? Okay, so Rose says something. I was at a restaurant last night where nearly all the employees came to check on us. We were blown away. See, that's the kind of thing. In today's society, there are so many times where, you're not blown away. And the coffee in the store is a great idea. Okay. I'm not tracking that one, so you're going to have to share more with me. Yeah. And that's the kind of thing is, if you're a single entrepreneur, right? I understand that you're just doing this by yourself, or maybe you have an assistant, or maybe you have someone that you work with in a spa-like setting or a clinic setting or something like that, and you're going, you know, I don't have a lot of people to come check on you, but if you do have people, that can be the kind of thing that you want to do. That's something, there really is something about that personal touch where when everybody's just walking around and having a conversation and ignoring you, you definitely feel, having a Starbucks that's what she was saying. Having a Starbucks in the Target is what helps create that experience. And when Target and other companies started doing that kind of thing, it caused shoppers to linger longer in their store. It caused shoppers to stay longer and to go up and down the aisles longer, because now they're enjoying their cold beverage, right? Or warm beverage on a cold day. So that's the kind of thing that it doesn't have, we don't have to do that. We don't have to, but you could, if you have an office, you could serve tea. You could have a few tea bags there that you could just say, hey, would you like to have some tea? If you were a massage therapist, you could make sure the lights are dim. Whether or not, no matter what, get rid of fluorescent lights. When we had our retail store, that was the only thing we had in our store. But in my office, I had a lamp that made it where it was, the ambient light was not harsh. It was welcoming. I had my office set up in a welcoming way, so it felt warm. It was warm, and the people, my employees, I had a great team. I mean, people walked in the door. They were greeted. They were asked if they could be helped. They were asked if they could be helped by several people. I mean, it was like you were welcomed. So that's something. Now, if you're doing virtual, you can do ambiance as well. So make sure, I'm so excited that my son-in-law came over and he helped me with my camera and my lighting and all of that kind of stuff. So that, look at this, the glare is up here on the top of my glasses, not here on my glasses. And so, it's one of those things you don't think about, but now when I look at you, it's like you can see my eyes, and that makes people feel welcome too. And you want it to be warm. So if you walked into your practice, I really do want you to think about this. If you walked into your practice today and you were your own client, what would you notice first? So drop in the chat if you're thinking about it, and you're going, because a lot of times we get so accustomed to our surroundings that we just kind of, I don't know, I don't recognize. But then when you look at it from your client's eyes, you might see something different. So, Jenna says, while y'all are thinking about that, what is that answering that question? Jenna says at the shop, because she worked at my shop, she made sure to learn names and to remember something about them. When they would come back in and I remembered some detail about them, they would feel special and ask for me so they wanted to talk to Jenna. I remember doing that one time, and that was when I worked at Herbal Planet. It was still called the Herb Shop before Susan changed the name. And so be yourself with Missy says cleanliness. Ooh, that's nice. I like clean environments. There was one particular client customer at that shop in my early days who just always seemed to be not happy. She always seemed to be not happy, and I didn't know why. And I remember I remembered her name. So, and it had been a while, and she came in, and I greeted her by name, and I was like, "How are you doing? And do you need anything?" And she paused, and she's like, You remember my name? Because it had maybe been over a year since she had visited, and I remembered her name. She was like, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe that." And that started a conversation, and that started a relationship. And that was one of those things where before she was only here and there, she started coming in more regularly again. So. All right, so Busy with Dogs says, I don't have a practice, But yesterday I spent time sprucing up my YouTube page so that my viewers knew the changes that I had made. That's awesome. Yeah, because when we go through changes and transitions, we want to make sure that our websites, our YouTube pages, our Facebook pages, whatever it is, wherever they see us, they know about what's going on. So Shannon says, so that says cleanliness and tidiness of the building, hospitality, and someone greeting me warmly. That's great, Shannon. Yeah, I like nice cleanliness. I don't want to go into a location and go, oh, wow, they haven't swept. I went to a so this is, I'm telling on myself, I don't usually eat at these places, but for our 40th anniversary on our way down to Florida, we stopped at a Steak and Shake, and I was like, oh, they're trying to be a little healthier. I can get a burger, with some beef tallow and all that. And that floor was so sticky. I was like, my feet were sticking to that floor, and I was like, oh. So that makes, think about that. Our clients I'm like, I don't think any of y'all are going to have sticky floor, but that's one of those things where we want to think about, what are they experiencing? What are they sensing? And, is this, now I'm just going to tell you, if you're running essential oils in your practice, I don't want to necessarily stop you from doing that, but I want you to be very aware, as I am aware for my daughter's sake, that there are so many people nowadays who are very sensitive to different smells, even essential oils. So, if you're going to do it, you might want to let your clients know that have health challenges or turn it off that day or something like that, because not only does Jenna have issues with some smells, but one of my mom's really good friends would tell her clients, please do not wear perfume when you come to see me, because it'll put her in the hospital. And I mean, she was not kidding. She spent so much time because people thought, oh, well, mine's not offensive. So think about that. Even the smell in our office can make a difference. So Rebecca says, I have a home office, so they are welcomed into my home entry, then to the office. So hopefully, and knowing Rebecca it's a beautiful home entry. Yeah. So Busy with Dogs says, no sticky floors. I'm looking for a new vet because even though he is considered one of the top vets in the country, the floors are always dirty, even at 8 a.m. So if it's dirty, that tells me it's not clean. It's like, you're not clean. Okay, so let's move on. So one of the things I want to make sure we're doing as we're doing this is, if you missed the Facebook Live last week where it was in Facebook, I said, think of those 3 words. So you do that too. If you didn't do that previously, think of 3 words that one of your clients might use to describe you, and that can help you go, okay, that can help me build an experience. One of the things that I use in my Roots to Results coaching, because I did consultations for clients, but now I've moved to being I'm a business coach. I coach wellness practitioners, holistic wellness practitioners, on either how to start a business, build a business, grow a business, transition in business. And it seems like, well, we don't always need help or whatever it is. We can figure it out on our own, and I have figured out a lot on my own by going to YouTube and watching videos on YouTube. I've built websites. I've done all kinds of stuff. I've done it on YouTube. I've gotten help from other people. Thank God for my son-in-law Ryan, who helps me with video editing, and my daughter Jenna, who helps me with YouTube thumbnails and all that kind of stuff. So I don't do it all myself. But what I have found is that a lot of the times when I was looking for coaching for myself, it was very cookie cutter. It was very much do this, do these steps, which having a system, having a flow, this is what is traditionally some things that you do in business is a good thing. And that's the kind of thing that we talk about week to week. But if you need something more, if you're going, hey, Beth, I really need someone to help me, That's one of the things I do as a coach, but I take it further. It's not cookie cutter. One of the things that I love about our coaching group is we bring in identity and design, because your identity, which is, let's define it. Identity is who God calls you. It's who God names you. It's the truth of who you are. And your design is how you live that out, how you are created within. And we talked about, when I was mentioning iridology, some people are logical thinkers. Some people are romantic songwriters. Some people are excellent at, physical sports and things like that. There are so many combinations of how we're designed, and we blend that in with our identity. And when we do that, then we can create our businesses in the truth of who God created us to be, and in a way that we are able to reach others. Because when we're doing it out of our identity of who we are, then it's authentic, it's real. And so that's what I help people do. I help them not only with do I set up an LLC, or do I do a sole proprietor, and how do I set up a checking account, and should I do this? Should I do YouTube videos? Should I write a blog? Should I create a course? Do I need to create a program? All of these questions we answer in the coaching course. There are lessons that you can watch, that you can, deep dive in. And then when we get into our weekly coaching, a group coaching call, we answer questions specifically for you, and we draw out who you are and who God created you to be. So for me, that's very unique. And, personally, I felt like God was telling me, that my identity is design perfecter and discoverer of treasure. So when I help people, it's like there's a treasure inside of you just waiting to come out, and I want to help you be the best you can be. And that is woven into the Roots to Results coaching and my business and what we do at the Brilliant Health Weekends Away and all those kind of things. And speaking of our past weekend away, we kind of talked about this a little bit with some of the people who attended, and we talked about their identity. And one lady was like, "Oh, I'm a proven leader." And it was so interesting because when she heard that because a lot of times we hear voices telling us lies about who we are. Either you've heard, "I'm too much," or "I'm not enough." Don't do too much. Don't think you're too big for your britches. Stay small, play it down, whatever it is. And what she needed to hear was, not only was she a leader, but she was a proven leader. She had been a leader. She had done things. And she was like, this spoke to her when she heard that. Another one, she said, I'm a guide. I'm a guide. That's what I'm supposed to do. Walk alongside people. And so when you take that back to your business and you put it into your business practice and you go, I'm doing what I'm doing because this is how I'm created. This is the truth of my being. It makes a difference in how others see you, and it makes a difference in how people are going to interact with you. So anybody, if you want to share, I'd love to hear you. If you've gone, hey, God has told me this is my true identity, and this is unique to you. Okay. We are all loved by God. We are all, that kind of thing. What I want to know is if you have a unique identity and you want to share it. Knowing does make a difference. Knowing who we are makes a difference, because then when I decide to make a business decision, if I am hearing what God says, who God says I am in that situation, then I make my business decisions not out of fear, not out of I'm afraid I'm too small or things like that. I'm making it out of who He says I am and how He provides for me to be that. So how does that show up? Think about those three words that we talked about, the trustworthy, efficient. Someone last week shared researcher. That was really good, because that means if you're a researcher, then someone comes in with you with a complex issue and they don't know let's say you come to me with a complex issue and I go, I'm not sure about that. Then if I'm a researcher, then I'm going to study that out. I'm going to figure it out. I'm not going to just go, oh, well, I don't know. Good luck. See you later. I'm a researcher. So that can define who you are, how you do your business, and how your signature comes through to your clients. So thank you, Jenna, Busy with Dogs. She says that she is a creative and an orchestrator of communication between heaven and earth. Woo, that's pretty cool. So, that kind of, I'm a guide, I'm a proven leader, I'm an orchestrator of communication, I'm a creative, I'm a discoverer of treasure, I'm a perfecter of design. That then when the lies, so remember there are lies that hold us back. And if we agree with those things, if we agree that I'm not enough, or I'm too much, or I haven't done enough, or this is another one of those. I hear this, often, and it's true. I live in an area where it's a poorer area and people don't want to pay for this. So therefore I can't make money. So the first part's true. The second part's not true. Because who you are in your creative ability, let's take Jenna, is not limited by her where she is. It's not limited by the land she lives on, because you can be creative in this day and age. In fact, she is. She's an author of children's books. She's written one, it's published. She's writing another one. That doesn't stop her creativity. If you are in the natural health field and you're going, the people around me just don't want to pay, and I get it. They don't. Some people don't. And then I've got other people like Dr. Mary Jane Gonzalez, who is one of, she sometimes shows up for our lives, and she's in New York. Her office is in Manhattan. So her initial consultation, $300, and people pay it because of her location. But we sometimes feel like, well, people aren't going to pay because I live in a poor area, or whatever. They don't know what to do. Like holistic wellness is still new to some people. I'm like, well, that was 20 or 30 years ago it was new. Well, in some areas it's still new to people. And and that may be a true statement, but the truth of who you are does not limit you. You can still figure out how to be, in business, taking care of your clients in such a way, virtual consultations, writing a book, writing a program, whatever it is, you can do it. Rebecca says that she is a rebuilder of foundations. That's great. And a restorer of generations. That's pretty cool. Yeah, so if you're bringing that, and just FYI, Rebecca was a guest on my podcast, and we dropped her podcast yesterday. The day that we're recording this, and that is true. The things that we talked about and how she helps people in her business, that is a true statement. She is a rebuilder of foundations, and she's a restorer of generations. So the lies that we believe about ourselves don't just hold us back personally. They water down our practice. They keep us from truly helping the people that we're meant to help. And so that was one of those things that was kind of a little hard for me and for my clients, is when I shifted out of consultant to a wellness consultant to clients who needed help with wellness, and moved into consultant to holistic practitioners who might need help building their business, or who might need training. Like, I still teach iridology. I still, together with Judy, we have an herbology class online that you can take. We do the weekends away where we did the herbal boot camp. We do the muscle response testing. We do all kinds of things where we still offer training. And it was hard for my clients when I'm moving into the teaching realm. I'm moving into education. I'm moving into to coaching. They didn't want to necessarily let me go as, a practitioner to them. But it was like, that was my new season. That's my new season. That's where I'm going. That's where I'm supposed to be now. So if you stay in that, it keeps you from moving forward. So Rebecca says it's a process to renew the mind to truth versus all the lies about who we are created to be. It's true. And I have personally found that I have to sometimes deal with things every single day. It's not like, oh, I dealt with it yesterday, so I'm good today. It's like that. Some things just come back over and over again. And that's why I'm going, if I know who I am, it makes a big difference in how I make the decisions. What I'm agreeing with, because, we have an imagination. And when we're looking at the lies and going, I'm not enough, I can never make enough, I can never do enough, or whatever it is, then our imagination goes, oh, well, let's imagine all the worst possible scenarios that go along with those beliefs. But if I use my imagination to go, oh, I'm a discoverer of treasure, because to me, it's delightful anytime I either in iridology or our weekend aways or with my clients in the Roots to Results coaching program, it's like anytime I start to get to know them and they say something or I hear something, and it's like sometimes it's in the irises and sometimes it's the words out of our mouths, and I'm like, oh, that's who you are. That's who you are. It really does delight me, because I'm like, because when we discover who we are, that's where we start going, oh, I start walking in that. I start walking in that more with confidence, and then lives are changed. People are like, oh yeah, look at what's happening. And that's what I love is I've got, one of my clients that I'm working with right now in the Roots to Results coaching, helping her with her business, get her business going, it was so interesting because she already had some connections. She already had some clients and things like that. It was the confidence. It was the confidence to keep going. And she has her own story that I'm not going to reveal here. That's not for me to tell. But what she gained, and just a few weeks ago, she said this as in one of our coaching calls, she was like, I am now confident that I can do this, that I can see this many clients, that I can build a business, that I can move forward. And that's the kind of thing that we're talking about for me helping you, and you then turning around helping your clients, is when you're confident and you're doing what you're supposed to be doing out of the truth of who you are, then it helps you to create that experience where they love you. They want to come see you. And yeah, so Jenna says that my clients were not happy when I made that transition. Why? Because they got personalized service. They got that gifted tincture that was created just for them, of frequencies that they tested for, that was like, this is what the body needs. They felt the difference, and they would come back and go, that really made me feel good. Can I get a refill? I'm like, well, you probably need something different now. So let's do another assessment. So that's the kind of thing that we're wanting to. We don't want to be held back. So the truth is, it's your identity that sets you apart. And it's your identity, when you lean into that helps you create that signature experience for your clients, so that they're going, yes, I want to come back. And not only do I want to come back to Beth because she's hearing me, she's listening to me, she's doing things for me that I feel the difference. But now, oh, my mom needs to come see you, or I've got to bring my husband in, or I got to bring this person in, or whatever it is. So that's the thing. So, all right, Jenna says, to be fair, when we explained what she was doing, that's me, they were happy for me, but they did miss me. And that's true. Most of my clients were actually really happy because they could tell that I was a teacher, because I would be like, okay, let me explain all of this to you. All right, so let's just bring this all back together. A signature experience is not about gimmicks, but it is about creating an experience. So one of the things that we talked about last week, when we were because I was like, we need to get this on YouTube. We need to move to a platform where more people can hear this, right? So one of the things we talked about is some people just have handouts. If your clients come to see you in person, you may have a handout on the 10 foundations of health, where you just go, once they go out, you go, here's a list of things. I know Jenna did that when she was doing RBTI. She would have handouts for her clients to take. For me, I had the personalized bottle where they had something that to go with it. Now they may still test that they needed supplements or herbs or something like that I would encourage them to take, but a lot of times it was just, I'm even thinking about, because I've started using the tapping with y'all. So the first Friday in October, we will have a tapping protocol again for our Facebook Live. And I've used that with y'all, and I would do that with my clients. I would be like, okay, let's just stop right here. And I sensing and believing that what we need to do is deal with this emotional block. Or I might, do something else, because that was not, traditional of okay, we're just going to do this, and this. It was like, let me listen, let me hear, let me see what's blocking. So they got that signature experience. And that's what we're talking about, is there are all kinds of things that we can do that don't cost extra money. Because learning tapping and doing tapping with someone doesn't cost any extra money. It's something that I can include during the session with them. And so what we want to do is we want to make sure that you are helping shape the journey that your client is taking them. If you are a guide along their health journey, then you are bringing in different, well, what about this? What about that? I'm thinking of the video games where, there's the guide, and I didn't play video games, but my kids did. And there are certain ones where they would suddenly show up with a cloak that they needed, or a spear, or whatever it is, and that's what I'm imagining, is you're going in and you're helping your clients live their best life, because you're going, hey, what if you needed this support or that support? So Jenna says the live stream is more steady on YouTube. Yes, that is one of those things. And I can see everybody's comments. To me, this is a huge bonus, because on Facebook, I would have to have my computer monitor going with the video, and then there's a place for comments. Couldn't see them. After the first 2 or 3 times, I never saw the comments. So I'd have to get my iPad, and I've been able to see everybody's comments here. So this has been great. So that's the kind of thing, is when you're doing this, as you're creating ambiance, you're helping your client along the way, and you're bringing your identity and your design, how you do it, into the mix. So we're going to talk about more meaty things. I mean, we've done this before. I've got a group of about 400 in my Facebook group. So if you want to join the Holistic Wellness Practitioners Coaching and Wellness and just be a part of that, so you can get things, and hear about the lives, hear about the events, hear about whatever business challenges I might have coming up, things like that, join. I'll be sure to drop links in the comments once this is published. And then you're welcome to join. And if you're sitting here going, you know what, Beth, I feel like I need somebody who is a guide, who doesn't do the cookie cutter, who doesn't look at me as a business person and go, well, just do these same exact things that everybody else says to do, but looks at me and says, yes, you are unique. And yes, there are differences that you're going to have in your practice. And I really want to talk to you about your coaching. Just you can drop a comment. Just drop a comment. Let me know. And you can also go to my website, which is sweeturbanliving.com. And there are no G's, because I'm Southern. And so we say Sweet Urban, and that's HERBIN, like I'm doing herbal things, living with no G. And that will be in the comments. My website will be in the comments as well. And you can just go there, and you can even click for a free business evaluation. Just want to see what's going on. So yeah, practicing what I preach about making the live stream a better experience. So it took me a while. It took me a while doing the Facebook Live in my Facebook group, to go, okay, I'm having all these difficulties, and my group was so gracious, so patient, so wonderful, and now I'm doing exactly what I'm talking about. Let's make it more stable. Let's make it a more pleasant experience for you and me, and that's what we want to do, right? Okay, good. Thank you, Jenna. It is at Sweet Urban Living. So, actually, I think it's all mushed together with no apostrophes. They wouldn't let me use apostrophes in the name Sweet Urban Living. I think it's all no spaces and no sky commas, as your dad calls it. So I just want you to encourage you to move from dabbling in your business to really building a strong business that reflects who you are. I've helped clients step into their identity, gain confidence. They've increased their client numbers and their revenue. They've honed into their niche. They're going, wow, not only can I do this, I can do so much more. And so if you're ready for that kind of transformation, please comment, let me know, send me a message. Let's talk about your next steps. And I really hope that this kind of grows. I see that I've got a few people commenting. I think it's going to be so much better, like we said, once we get everybody familiar with being on YouTube rather than being on Facebook. So thank y'all so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. We're going to keep talking about things that you can do to create a business that's strong and sustainable. We'll probably repeat some of the things that we talked about in the Facebook Lives because we've got a brand new audience to reach, and so we're going to cover a lot of the things like building systems, block scheduling, the practical things as well as other things. So just keep looking. Make sure that you subscribe. Make sure that you hit the like button and join me next Friday for our next YouTube Live. Thanks so much for joining me.